This is not the Navara Pro-4X Warrior, but it is the next best thing. This is the regular Pro-4X Navara. It's a ute that largely competes against some of the big hitters in the industry, such as the Ford Ranger Wildtrak and the Toyota Hilux Rogue. Sure, it misses out on some of the off-road credentials of the Warrior, but is it still a really purposeful, lifestyle-focused ute in 2024? Well, today we're going to find out. In this video, we're going to be having a very good look at the Navara Pro-4X, including its interior, its safety, and most importantly, how it drives on and off the road. But before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to Chasing Cars. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. So what exactly is a Pro-4X? Well, it sits above the STX in the Navara lineup. That basically means it's about $3,000 more than an STX automatic. Pretty good deal when you consider that a Ford Ranger Wildtrak in bi-turbo guise is in the $70,000 bracket. So it's pretty expensive. So what exactly do you get on this Pro-4X grade of Navara? Well, around the front here, you get a lot of blacked out features, including the grille. You get an orange badge, which is pretty cool. It looks pretty tough, this thing, and I think it is really one of those utes that stands out from the pack, mainly to do with the 17-inch black alloy wheels, and you've got these pretty aggressive looking Yokohama all-terrain tires as well. So there's a little bit going on here in terms of aggression, and I think that's really good for a ute like this. You've also got black roof rails, black door mirrors, and at the back, a black sailplane. Pretty sweet. So what's it like inside the Pro-4X ute? Well, this car is definitely starting to show its age inside. However, the Pro-4X does get these lovely seats that have the embossed Pro-4X logo on them. They're heated seats. This side is electrically adjustable as well for the driver, so that's always good. The leather steering wheel is really nice. It feels like a good size, easy to grip. Now, in terms of the rest of the material elements, there's a few scratchy plastics here and there. There's some fake piano black trim here, which is a bit of a shame because it gets dirty very, very easily. Now, this dash here, it's an okay material. It's a bit hard. I understand this has been built for durability, but at the same time, for $64,000, I expected it to be a little bit more premium. So in terms of driver technologies, the main one in front of you is a 7-inch instrument cluster that shows all sorts of things, including your speed, your fuel economy, and there's heaps of stuff in there you can explore. It's all linked to the buttons on the steering wheel, which I find are really easy to use. They're all marked. You know what each button does. Not all manufacturers do this. And I think that Nissan's done a really good job with the steering wheel and linking it to the instrument cluster. Now, up front and center is an 8-inch central touchscreen, which is certainly showing its age. It's got a pretty old infotainment system running. It does use wired Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, but there's no wireless functionality, unfortunately. But the good thing is I've got an Android phone and it pairs really easy, really fast, and it's very responsive with the steering wheel buttons. So big win there. Other features you should know about inside the Pro-4X are your dual zone climate control. You've got all your four-wheel drive stuff down here. So you've got your hill descent control, you've got your rear diff lock, which is very important, and you've got your four-wheel drive selector. Again, very important if you want to go off-road. Down below there is a USB-A port as well as an auxiliary port. Pretty old school, but hey, someone might want to use that. Now, also you've got two big cup holders here. Plenty of storage around the place. There's a deep bin in here, no wireless charger. The door bins are pretty deep, which is good, great for water bottles. And you also have a sunglass holder up here too. So there's plenty of practicality in here, which is very typical of the ute segment. So what's it like in the back of the Pro-4X? Well, not so good for adults, unfortunately. I'm pretty cramped in here. I've got next to no knee room. I do have some toe room, but quite limited headroom as well. So I guess it would be perfect for kids back here. Not so good for adults on long trips. One thing that is really good about the backseat though is the visibility forward. I liked that when I was a kid. I'd be able to see through to the road and out of the car really easily. And that's definitely the case with the Navara. This seat is a little bit higher than the front seats, so it's pretty good in that regard. Now back here in terms of equipment, you do get rear air vents, which is pretty good. There's one USB-A port, no USB-C here unfortunately, and you do get a fold down armrest with two cup holders. Now also, this back window does open. It's an automatic window. It allows for more breeze to come through and whatnot. Some people like it, some people don't. I didn't actually use it, but you might do so if you're on country roads, for example. Other good features back here include these door pockets, which are great for magazines or books for the kids. And of course, there's door bins on the side. You'll be able to fit a water bottle in there nice and easy. So an important part with any ute is of course the tray. Now with the Navara, you simply open it up. It doesn't have a damned tailgate unfortunately like an Isuzu D-Max, but it's pretty light and I feel like most people wouldn't have too much issue with that. Inside you've got a 1500mm long tray and it's 1100mm wide between the wheel arches. Now also in here you'll see that it's got Nissan's flexible rack system or tie-down system. You can unscrew these back and forth depending on what you're tying down in the vehicle. I know my parents' Navara had one back in the day in the D40 generation, and I think it's just a really handy tool to have. This one's got a soft tonneau cover, it just slips onto the side here, nice and easy. So let's now talk a little bit about the Navara's running costs. To service over 5 years, it's going to cost $2,975 if you buy a prepaid service plan. Servicing happens every 12 months or 20,000 kilometers. Every Nissan product in Australia is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty. Now, in terms of fuel efficiency, Nissan claims that the Navara will do about 8.1 litres per 100 kilometres combined. However, we drove this car pretty extensively over the week, about 350 kilometres driven, and we got 7.6 litres per 100. So it beat its claim, pretty good. It's a smaller engine, but for this weight, that's pretty impressive. So what's the Pro-4X Navara like out on the open road? Well, let's start by talking about the engine. It's a 2.3 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine that produces 140 kilowatts of power and 450 newton meters of torque. Now those aren't class leading figures, but they are the same as what an Isuzu D-Max's 3-litre engine puts out. So it's quite a similar sort of package. This is only a 2.3 litre, it's quite highly strung, but I think it's such a linear unit. And when I say that, I mean that the power delivery is just so smooth, and I think that's really good for on-road and off-road driving. I found that with this 7-speed torque converter automatic transmission and the 2.3 litre engine, it was just a breeze to drive this car around the city, which I think honestly is where it's going to spend a lot of its time. It's going to be a lifestyle sort of ute. Yes, it's tough, yes, it's got all-terrain tyres, but at the end of the day, it's probably going to be used for city duties, which is completely fine. Now, in terms of ride quality, the Navara is pretty good actually. It's got a multi-link rear suspension, coil spring suspension. It doesn't have leaf springs like a lot of other utes on the market today. And I think it's just really composed and really controlled. It doesn't have that jittery mess that a lot of dual cab utes have that have leaf springs. It's so controlled, it's great on the highway, and it just seems really smooth. And sure, it's a little bit firm, but it's not uncomfortable. That's the main thing. Now, one of the not so good points about the driving experience, at least on road with the Navara, is the fact that its steering is just so slow. I can't remember steering being this slow since, well, a 79 series Land Cruiser. It just takes so long to wind lock on and off. It's a slow rack, and I just think that it could be a little bit sharper, a little bit more precise. It would help the on-road dynamics quite a lot, actually. So during the week, I was able to take this car out onto the tracks. It's been pretty wet and slippery in Sydney over the last couple of weeks. I tried my best to get out there in the tracks and have some fun, and this car really delivered. You put it into 4 high, and it will go over so many things you just would never expect that it would be capable of. But these utes, with the traction control systems and the 4x4 systems that they have, are really, really impressive in 2024. And this Navara, you know, it's a great thing. My mum and dad actually had a Navara back in the day, a D40 Navara with the 2.5 litre engine. And it was pretty impressive with what it could do at that time, and that was over 10 years ago. So this Navara really has come a long way, and off the beaten track, it's just really, really impressive to see this 2.3 litre working. And with that multi-link rear suspension, it's quite good at articulating. So now let's quickly talk about safety for the Nissan Navara. As of 2024, the Nissan Navara is unrated with ANCAP, so it has no rating whatsoever. However, it does have as standard 7 airbags, as well as autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, and lane keep assist. Sure, some of the utes out there have a lot more safety assistance than this. I know this car is ready for an update. It's ready for a new generation. It's certainly feeling a little bit tired, and I think that it could be a lot safer in 2024. So all in all, what do I think about the Navara Pro-4X? Well, I think it's a really good lifestyle ute. It looks tough, it drives well, it has great ride quality, and that engine is just a real surprise and a real treat. I just really enjoyed driving it this week. The only real downsides that I had was that, well, it does ride a little bit firm, And also this steering is just a little bit too slow for my liking. I wish it was a little bit more precise. Sure, it's a ute, but I think it's important to have full control of the vehicle at all times. So the big elephant in the room is that, well, this isn't the full-blown Pro-4X Warrior. And I totally get that. It doesn't have the underbody protection, it doesn't have the wider track or the suspension lift. But I think for what it's built for, which is largely lifestyle, I think this ticks so many of those boxes. So many boxes ticked. Sure, the Warrior may look a little bit tougher, it's got the integrated bull bar and the integrated light system, but it's a lot more expensive too. It's going on $74,000 drive away. And this car is quite a bit cheaper than a Ford Ranger Wildtrak. So keep that in mind. Not long after we finished filming this video, Nissan Australia introduced a national offer on all new automatic Navara Pro-4Xs, pricing the ute at a very competitive $59,990 drive away. This deal is available for all private and ABN buyers until September 30, 2024, while stocks last. So what are my final thoughts on Nissan's Pro-4X ute in 2024? Well, this car is pretty impressive, and that's for a couple of reasons. It's got that multi-link rear suspension that a lot of utes don't have. They've got leaf springs, they're jittery, they're uncomfortable. This is not uncomfortable. This is one of the most comfortable utes on the market, bar maybe the Ford Ranger and the Volkswagen Amarok, but this is very close. It's also got a pretty willing 2.3 litre engine, and it's a pretty comfortable drive day to day, which is what this will probably be used for most situations. It's a lifestyle ute, and I think it really wins in those regards. However, inside it's getting pretty dated. It's looking pretty old and it needs a refresh. There's probably a new Navara coming very soon, but for now, we've got a bit of a dated cabin in there that needs some work. Also, on the safety front, I think it can be a little bit better, a little bit more refined, and the systems, they need to work a little bit better too, but that could come with an update. But in 2024, I think this is a really tough looking ute, even if it doesn't have those same off-road credentials as its Warrior big brother. I think it looks great, I think it drives pretty well, and again, as I said, it rides a lot better than a lot of utes on the market today. But what do you think about the Nissan Navara? Is it something you buy over a Toyota Hilux or a Ford Ranger? Well, we want to know down in the comment section below. While you're there, make sure you like and subscribe as always to Chasing Cars.